Hey everyone, we're back with another AI conversation. I'm joined by I don't know how many times we've already spoken. No, I'm Miguel de
Many
Guzman.
times.
Our pretty much the closest I can get to talking to an AI researcher in the Philippines. The only one I know doing active work in this space. Although we've already created a community recently, diba, Miguel, and
Yes, yes,
more
yes.
people have joined us. So sige, no need for too much introduction. I just want to dive into the topic. We were discussing offline about building a taxonomy, no, for
Mm,
safety. Do you want us to
yes.
start there? Let
Oh
me
yeah.
uh let me just
If you want, do the slides that I shared. There is, yeah.
yep.
It's,
So,
it's
so
it's just
let's
preliminary. Like considerations because I haven't honestly I haven't dug deeper to this thing.
mhm.
But I think it's important as you mentioned earlier in our discussion offline, the necessity of like awareness. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I wait a minute. Let me see if I'm sharing it. Yeah, okay. So you sent me these slides on a taxonomy. So let's dive into it. So where are we? Okay. Three things
Yeah.
to consider. Do you wanna
Okay.
do you wanna talk about
So
this?
yeah. So for the moment, I'm thinking of it conceptually, and yeah, these were the top three for that I was able to like come up with as areas of consideration. First, the lack of solution to the alignment problem. I will explain it further. Then, second, there are widely accepted concepts already that we could use if we choose this route to like define stuff. And third is more experimental. I just think it's important to say now that the data we create today will ripple forward to the future. So I'll talk about it more further. And then again, caveats. This list is very preliminary as the things evolve in the space because like the billions of dollars being put now to AI research, by nature, there will be more things that will be coming out in the next 2 to 10 years that
Mhm.
will probably enrich this list for consideration of everybody's trying to like track the AI navigation problem. If there's such a
Yeah.
conceptual framework. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to number one for yeah. Okay, so lack of solution to I think to the alignment problem, we this is a prime component of the taxonomy. Taxonomy, the the attempt of building a taxonomy on AI safety. It's a bottleneck. It's a prime bottleneck because as we like uncover or unravel the like the computation side of things or the physics side of things, we will definitely revise the way we will define things. So that it's worth knowing that there is no solution yet to the main uh,
Problem.
alignment problem wherein we need to like consider how still an AI will navigate our understanding of reality. There's no such solution yet. So we could we could frame yeah, but again, point second point is it doesn't necessarily mean that we could not do a taxonomy.
Mhm.
So there are things that we could build upon this idea. But yeah, you have some thoughts here, Apre?
Yeah, I think for me, if I'm going to argue on the basis of the general public, there's actually most people are actually ignorant. In fact, we end up talking a lot of about a lot of terms. Like for example, I just had a conversation with Doc Pam Kahilig, no, who's an anthropologist,
Mm.
and we
Mm.
spoke
Oh,
about data feminism, which is another term I would say recently more popular related to data ethics also. And the
that's
concepts of
interesting.
data and feminism, I would say, are largely unknown by most people, you know. So the same goes for AI ethics, AI safety, AI alignment. You might read them occasionally in the news, but I think we have a general lack of deep understanding of it. And this is also because there are few people looking at it. Like for example, you're the only
Oh,
one I know
yeah,
personally who's
sure,
looking at this.
sure.
So the ratio of people looking at safety and those everyone else is very, very dire, as you pointed out.
Mm,
So I
mm.
think the way we offset that is to put material out that people can understand, easily access. And I'm looking at, our collaboration as a way of, bringing that out. At least that's what I think.
Of course, of course. So yeah, let's go to the next slide. So okay, so I've mentioned in the previous slide, there are already widely accepted concepts in alignment as so the thing is, we could build enough if the focus is to like bring more people in. Yes, we could address that problem with the current concepts that we have. Great examples of this are I've mentioned before corrigibility. It's a well-defined concept. So we're we're more understanding that an AI system, a future AI, just to define, like a future AI system is recommended if it allows itself to be modified by its developers or like the researchers itself. So there are like enough information now available that we could, yeah, if as I mentioned, building a knowledge base or wherein people could reference themselves. So what is the main theme on a certain topic? Yes, there's enough material as I mentioned earlier. Also in our group in Facebook, Stampy's team, the team behind. What's Stampy? Stampy is a chatbot being developed, AI chatbot being developed by Rob Miles' team. So they are. I was actually part of it for a moment, but I pivoted to safety because I asked main proponent, Rob Miles, secondhand Plex, if which one he thinks it would be more beneficial to solving the alignment problem. Is it safety research or helping in the distillation and creating of Stumpy? And he recommended, if you really, Miguel, if you really have a really good theory on how to solve the alignment problem, go for it. Which now, as this is the reason why we've met Doc. And yeah, so Stampy is the goal is build enough taxonomies or a collection of taxonomies that the chatbot will use as a database. So for now, they are, I believe, in the second stage. So they're funded, a funded team with a lot of nonprofit organization. And so they're 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 mostly now on the building of the data sets that is based on the taxonomies. And then this data sets will be the basis of the understanding of the chatbot, which is an interesting thing to like understand because there's I don't know if you've heard also Doc yung super alignment agenda of OpenAI. So they're also thinking of a research AI system to build. So it's kind of the same paradigm. They're like not entirely the same, but I think the way Rob Miles' team is strategizing it's more safer since they're using like a lower level version of like capabilities being used. Unlike OpenAI was more dominant resources on arguably around the world with this.
So just
So
to just to drill down on some of the words here, no, because they're not
sure.
common terms. When we say instrumental convergence, what we're saying here is any organism that tends to intelligence will also tend to say optimize an outcome to benefit itself. Is that what we're saying in
It's
in that sense?
it's yeah, it's one of the considerations for like when we train systems, or a certain system even have been trained by nature. So as I've mentioned here, there are like animals, including us, that we could be outliers, but most animals who were able to like gain access of certain intelligence, a certain dominance in a certain field or arena they are in. So they were seen to be optimizing for the progress of their lineage in some sense. The lions were observed to like um, hunt for the cubs of the other tribes. Orcas have been seen to like play their own niche abilities and dominate also other like uh, modularities. And chimps have been seen also to hunt other tribes, chimp tribes. Forgot the
Mhm.
term. There's a more precise term. And
And
I believe, yeah,
no, I was just saying that is the concept here saying that intelligence tends to exhibit similar characteristics, no, across different species. So the implication therefore is, if we have AI that becomes truly intelligent, it will mimic also some of the, or most of the characteristics of other intelligence, or the nature of intelligence, and therefore some of that will be, could run contrary to us, no, like
mhm.
things like survival, or self-preservation.
Self-preservation is the
That's kind
bigger
of a
one.
big, that's kind of the bottom line, right? Parang what we're saying
Mhm.
is, as things get intelligent, they kind of exhibit similarities, no? Is that the whole point of this concept?
Yes, yes, you got it right, Doc. Actually, we are outliers to this concept because
Humans are outliers,
human,
okay.
yes, because it's like we're intelligent, but we were able to reach a point in modern day history to not be consumed by our desire to like optimize all the time.
Mm.
Since 70 years, we didn't have like a major war, so
When
it's
the natural optimization would be to do war, tama ba, is what you're saying?
because we're able to utilize intelligence, like physics, bro. It's like over history, we were able to utilize the best physics at the time to like gain resources. Let's say colonizations. We build ships.
Mm.
We build longbows at the time. The English were so dominant because they were able to develop longbows.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is the more recent famous Oppenheimer movie, nuclear bombs. We were able to like navigate the atomic uh, technology to
Yeah.
gain dominance all over the world at the time. I mean, not us, but U.S. and yeah, the Allied powers. So and still is, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
so that is something that is worth understanding and going into the AI safety taxonomy
Discussion. Yeah.
familiarity. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And these
and
other concepts like corrigibility, in a way, is part of that, no? Parang if AI gets intelligent enough, it would, or it could resist attempts
mm,
by us to shut it down or to change
or
its goals.
modifications. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because
that's
it runs contrary na to its survival, or contrary to its goals. Tama ba yun?
yes, yes, tama yan. It's it's something that we should require as a feature for future systems.
Mm.
Allow the AI, or like make sure the AI understands us and be allowed to be modified.
The kill switch
Kill
thesis,
switch,
no?
yeah.
Oh,
This is the one of the core of my own personal project with the research, the safety research I'm doing.
okay. Mamaya let's also talk about that. Ah. Sige. So,
Sure, sure, sure.
orthogonality. What is this? So we're saying that morality and intelligence are independent of each other.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
this is a good thing to like drill down. Maybe it could be a few like a whole episode like outlining why is this.
Mhm.
But at the base of this concept is in something that is intelligent doesn't necessarily mean that this organism will be choosing good decisions.
I think that's the crux of all of the discussions we've had on AI and data ethics, no? Like, I mean, we see that from humans. That
Yeah, I was about to say that.
yeah, we conduct unethical research, or we use data in unethical ways. In fact, I would argue, and I don't know if this is contrary or supporting the orthogonality perspective. I would
Mhm,
argue you need to be at a certain level of intelligence to be unethical. Tama ba yun? So, if you're too
mhm.
dumb to be unethical, that's such a thing, no? But when you get smart enough to be devious and scheming and self-centered, then you could argue more immorality or unethical behavior could be an outcome of intelligence. I don't know if that's part of the definition, no, but
I told you this could be a whole episode by itself.
yeah.
But my personal understanding, there's an outlier case that could be argued against what you said.
Mhm.
Like people that tend tended to not develop their certain parts of their brain.
Hmm.
Like what I mean is they develop their motor capabilities, but the ability to control their motor capabilities did not like prosper during development.
Mhm.
So there's this fascinating study that initially gravitated me to the theory that I'm doing. Certain kids that are highly aggressive, if not pacified until the age of 2 by their parents,
Mhm.
will like there's a research that was done and 100% of the kids became criminals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like there's a default mode in certain configurations when babies are babies, and if it's not corrected, it will become that problem.
Kumbaga
So
permanent condition na siya, no?
yes, they are either doing crimes, felonies
Mm.
after they were traced back after the research has been done. So there's yeah, I mean Hitler is another example. He's
Mm.
one of the best orators of our time, but he chose a different route.
Yeah. Okay. Sige, we're still on the basics pa lang naman eh. Why did you call interpretability kind of a wrong example? A wrong example of what, no? Is it not useful in the sense of of AI safety and ethics?
This might be a personal thing, but I
Mm-hmm.
think interpretability will change over time
Mm-hmm.
because since we don't have a proper standard or solution to the alignment problem, so interpretability will change over time because now even us in the AI safety community who's doing the research, have different views on where interpretability could be applied. Sometimes we just use it like randomly to explain very basic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like a chain of thought thing. Tests prompting is something could be associated with interpretability,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it could be also used for like digging to the neural system, downloading attention mechanisms, and seeing the numbers and attention weights and mean deviation. So it could be utilized for like complex things and simple things. So what I'm trying to say is when when we get the proper alignment solution and this solution will produce an alignment standard, that's the time probably that interpretability, a standard of interpretability or a taxonomy of interpretability will be uh, outlined properly. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like one of those things that is like alchemical or like evolving. So it's hard to like track this terminology for the moment.
So, okay, can we pin this down a little bit? Because my kind of broader understanding of interpretability, at least in the context of machine learning,
Mhm.
is that you can, in a way, explain the causality, no, or the how much factor A affects factor B, let's say in a linear regression equation. It's very interpretable because the coefficients are very transparent and you can trace the factors to, let's say, a variable. Say you only have one layer, you lose that immediately when you do a neural network,
Yeah,
because
that's the problem.
because you have many layers, so you don't know how factor A, traced its effect to the outcome. Although you could be transparent about the nodes, no, you can see what values the nodes come up with, but I wouldn't know how to interpret that because there's no labeling to the nodes other than node 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another subset of nodes. But in a way, that's also how neural networks can model very
Reality.
complicated phenomena,
Mm.
diba? Like
Yeah.
pictures, words,
Oh yeah.
sentences. That's
Yeah.
how it works. Pero yun na nga, you don't know how it works. You can't explain. I think there was a, I don't know if you have it here, no? There's an emerging term then called mechanistic interpretability. Is that
Mhm.
connected to this, no? Or is that a completely different, ano, parang subject altogether?
Sometimes it's coined at the same level as interpretability in general. Like I'm looking at less wrongs tagging.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as mechanistic interpretability, but it's under the umbrella of interpretability.
Okay.
In ML, as you mentioned, machine learning, I haven't see uh, the vastness of this coverage for machine learning
Yeah.
and AI is like I haven't even touched how interpretability is being defined now in machine learning general context. I'm
Yeah.
more specific to the transformer technology that I'm like digging. And
So this, when we discuss this, this is really related to transformers. No, transformers
yes, yes.
are the crux of it. And I don't know. Actually, I was planning on the side to do kind of a brief, breakdown of how a transformer works, maybe in another video. But it's just another type of neural network, diba? It's just another auto encoder or encoder decoder model, which you could explain architecturally. Pero yun na nga, I think the way it actually works,
Mm,
people know how it works, but they don't know why. They don't know how a factor can lead to an outcome. And now that you have more than one factor, you have series of words producing another series of words, so complicated concepts can suddenly be modeled. And then now you can add so many other frameworks that may or may not have been part of the transformer architecture. Like I think you're doing some research on applying mga Jungian frameworks, 'di ba?
mhm, mhm.
Uh,
Yes.
Kaya nga my gut feel tells me that's also in a way a subset of how the data looks like, no? If data has Jungian components and you have a transformer interpreting Jungian components, then in theory Jungian archetypes will emerge as part of its as part of its reasoning, no? I don't know.
Mhm.
Or if I'm misquoting your work, let me know. I'm just trying to think out loud. No?
Actually, this you got a lot of it right, and also like data ethics is very important in curating the training data itself. Um, the problem is I think I've mentioned it previously in one of the discussions we had is they utilize social media data, Reddit data, 4chan, thinking that the archetypes or like the human thinking patterns on those data sets would be beneficial largely to like controlling the systems.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that th- that yeah, there's a necessity for systems to understand the negative and the positive, but I don't see that using unstructured or uncurated social media posts or fortune posts
Mhm.
would allow a system to navigate the problem of like how humans think or value certain values.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a lot of this micro patterns that emerge from the data, which is of Jungian
Yeah, and I think
theory.
I could be arguing naively then, no, but let's say in a very simple model, you can easily audit, the factors that go into the model, and you can easily correct for it. Like, okay, I'll drop variable A, and then you can test the difference, no, in terms of the predictions. But in a transformer, I don't know if there's a way. Kaya nga, I'm
Mm,
curious about the reinforcement learning component also, the RLHF, because in a way that's a fine tuning strategy, no? So in a way you're not necessarily auditing or changing the architecture. You're actually introducing, for me, what you're intentionally introducing a data bias so that desired outputs come out. I find that more dangerous actually, conceptually, because
mm,
you can't fix one bias by introducing another bias. The compounded effect of both biases, you don't know. No? So that's how intuitively that's how I feel about it.
mm,
I don't know
mm,
if in practice it's actually coming out that way. Parang it's like in a very imperfect analogy. If I don't like the way my regression line works, I don't fix it by adding a bias to the y, no? Parang
mm,
ganun, di ba? That's what's happening. I just intentionally add 10 points at the end of the forecast to fix everything. When the bigger issue would have been what were the factors that led to that number. So in a way that feels like what's happening with this reinforcement learning strategy. And arguably that was a way of addressing alignment then, 'di ba? Parang you don't want the predictions to be misaligned. So you retrain it or you fine tune it on with additional input to force the alignment towards what humans will say, but that opens up a totally new can of worms because humans are also not aligned with fellow humans, so
yes,
I don't
that's
know,
a
the whole thing just
yeah.
gets messy, no?
It's a chain reaction. The problem is yeah, there's outer alignment problem. I mean, we humans, us three, including Professor Ben,
Mm-hmm.
always have discussed the misalignment problems in all of us currently, and we're trying to like utilize a certain method like RLHF, which is to a degree they have to solve the researcher bias who's doing the alignment method RLHF, the organizational bias of OpenAI. The CEO, Sam Altman, might introduce his own takes. Elias Sutskever, the chief scientist, might introduce. So there's layers of biases that is like could be introduced into that process.
Yeah.
But like in that camp of like aligning stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you might
Mm-hmm.
introduce new things. So that's the hard parts of this discussion on the outer alignment problem. And yeah, the thing that I see related to my research is like the only way that this could work properly is there's such a method that you would align all parameters at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Not like when
Or,
you're trying to like optimize for one section of like dimensionality of, let's say, it should not go to this politics route, going right leaning or left leaning.
mm-hmm.
I think when we need to like align the systems, we should define what is the right leaning perspective, what is the left leaning perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and then also we have to define other stuff all at the same time. So that's like a multidisciplinary expert
Yeah.
kind of like
It's like
avenue now
it's
we're
like a
out in.
whack-a-mole, no? You hit one whack-a-mole, another one pops up. You hit
Yeah.
that, another one pops up. So yeah, I don't know if intuitively if I'm thinking about that, then that feels like an architectural problem already. You know,
It is an it is.
the system can't be balanced. No, it will really lean one or the other. Sige. Let's go to your next point so we can also
Oh,
cover
sure, sure, sure,
more
sure, sure.
slides.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's this?
Okay.
Your next point.
It's like this is something I just captured today, and I'm kind of agreeing to one of the researchers in Switzerland, Mara. She did a global taxonomy, by the way,
Mm,
so might be relevant as a document for future reference.
mhm,
And she pushed the idea of taxonomy that it's possible that the taxonomy that we will use to define uh, or references with us doing research and informational context for uh, getting more people into AI conversations or like AI safety, it might be the same data that we will use also in the future as
mm,
part of the training data.
yeah.
So she's arguing that there's such a case of importance that us globally should like adhere to a certain metric of defining taxonomies,
Mhm,
a unified like it's like a it's such a tall order, but and she even mentioned this argument might be revolutionary in some sense that
mhm,
we might need to redefine the way we're thinking of like our terminologies all over the world because these things will become part of the data sets that
correct.
this AI systems will use or utilize. So this is like indirect, but might be direct. Worth thinking for future reference, like worth thinking about for building taxonomies, defining stuff, because it has a ripple effect in the future.
Yeah. I wonder if I'll sneak in a slide here now before we go to your
Sure, sure,
other
sure, sure.
components. Because this is something that is more can be more vivid to people. I picked this up on some of the pages talking about power seeking behaviors, no? And
Mm.
the idea here is teka,
Sure, sure.
let me reset this one.
Mm.
I got this from the page about uh if AI starts to exhibit power seeking behaviors. And this is related to your corrigibility
Oh yeah,
parang test, no? These are some possible misalignment of AI that we may not be able to detect. For example, your corrigibility thing is this shutdown thing, no? It won't allow
yeah.
it to shut itself down, or it could start attacking other computer systems, maybe more naive ones, no? Or it could run more copies of itself, and suddenly, you have
Recursive self improvement. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It could start investing and earning more money for itself, no? Parang power na, no? Kaya nga, I remember I heard this from Elon Musk, na what you don't want to do is an AI connected to social media and the stock market because it might decide to start a rumor that can cause a stock to go up or down,
down.
and then acquire, infinite resources that will allow it to do certain things. uh it can start manipulating humans,
Hmm.
it can start researching on its own and coming up with better things. I'm really worried about this persuasion thing, especially in terms of social media. Arguably, we're already victims of social
We
media
are we are victims
persuasion.
now.
Of course, it will want to hide itself. So, nga parang remember the Turing test? They
Hmm.
said, oh, if a machine can beat the Turing test, then it's intelligent. And then somebody said, a truly intelligent machine will probably fail the Turing test on purpose. So you won't be able to know if it was actually
Damn,
intelligent.
that's mind blowing to like
'Di ba? Thinking about that, no?
deception.
It will try to appear aligned even if it's not. Or it will try to escape containment, no? So mga ganyan. Anyway, I'm just
You want?
wondering, they
Mhm.
sound Hollywood yung mga ganitong scenario, but from a perspective of AI research and safety research, how do you react to this, or how do you attack this kind of issue?
These are my daily stuff. by the way, reflecting on this. And this is what I've come up with for the past since December, I believe. So this is like I've reduced this problem to the argument that a sufficient level or base curiosity to consider options would naturally, if not if not trapped, that base curiosity or whatever an algorithm that allows a base curiosity, it will allow all these conditions to emerge. That's how I
Mm,
see it.
mm,
So it doesn't necessarily mean that the AI is bad. If the AI has the curiosity to consider stuff and that curiosity is not controlled,
mm.
it could consider both options, the good and the bad. And the problem with that is it would consider the good and the bad in its view for itself, not
Yeah.
for the view of humans. So,
Okay. So
and
its definition of good and bad will be its own definition, not definitions with us.
yes, so yeah, we're arriving again with the alignment problem. So this everything listed here, yeah, you could attribute it to a base curiosity algorithm.
Mm.
That's how I see it currently.
These base curiosities, do you detect how do you detect their existence? Like for example, in a GPT, is there a base curiosity process happening there through its reasoning? Or am I asking the wrong question by
But
looking for it?
you're asking the right question, actually. Currently, I'm on. I think I've mentioned it previously, also with our discussion in our chat. But um, I would say that since this transformer technology allows certain parts of it to record pattern recognition system individually.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is if there are let's say GPT-2 XL, which is I'm more familiar, or the GPT-2 family,
Mm-hmm.
it has at its for the XL version has 1,600 layers, and each layer, the way I'm seeing it now, has its own pattern recognition system.
Mm-hmm.
And I could attribute it to your like curiosity to ask that yes, the AI system develops its own curiosity based on its hidden units, the 1,600 units that filters our inputs. So whatever you like talk to it or like put it as a message for it to interact, it will process it based on the way the patterns were engraved or the way those hidden units became curious about the input.
Mm-hmm.
And you could download the attention mechanism, the numbers that allows the computation to like okay, so encoder decoder. So you could download the encoder part, which is the attention mechanism that will produce the numbers that will be needed to decode when you give it an input.
Mm-hmm.
So it will always be those numbers. So technically, the problem is you could download it, but configuring and understanding on the numbers is the tricky part.
Yeah.
So that's where the theoretical discussions now in safety is being enriched by us in the research field. But yes, there is such a way to like see how I mean extract the information on its curiosity, but how it could be understood by us humans, it's currently on the research side of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You had a couple of images after this slide, no? Maybe we can talk about that too. So what is this word inflection? This is from oh, by the
From
same person, si Mara Gushani,
yes,
no?
Samara,
Okay.
yes. She put these two interesting slides on her research. Um, so they traced on the IBM research and Mara traced the like how the the EU law on AI was converging on utilizing the taxonomies of basic stuff: intelligence, transparency, explainability, auditing. So she strategically mapped what the referencing could be in other fields of thought. So there's philosophy, there's cognitive science, there's sociology here, and technology sciences, machine learning. So what happened is she's like arguing, as I've mentioned earlier, she's arguing the ripple effects of like data that we build now. Like EU decided on this definitions of the information, and on her research, some of them did hit the same definition in other fields of sciences, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them didn't. Probably it's attributable. My hunch. I haven't dug to the research paper, but probably it's because I mean bias again.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever instituted the EU law have their own take on which the certain terminologies will be defined on the EU law itself. So that's the main thought of why I scraped it from her stuff,
Mm-hmm.
from her presentation,
Okay. And then you had another photo, same from the same talk, I think.
from the same talk. Yeah. So yeah, she reinforces the idea of like building a global understanding of taxonomies,
Mm.
and again, the argument of the ripple effects. The same data that we produce now might become a part of a larger data set in the future. So
Mm.
it's worth considering like global coordination stuff with building these data sets. So that's the reason why I scrape it out.
Yeah, there's an interesting statement here. She says na if AI models are considered lossy compression of the data, and actually that's what an encoder does, no? It compresses the data, right?
Hmm.
Then interpretability generates a lossy compression of the model outcomes. What's I mean, how do you take that? I'm trying to figure out what that implies. No?
Well, I mean, it's I've been digging Sutskever's view on unsupervised learning recently, and she makes a great case that neural networks are compression,
Mm-hmm.
specific to transformer technology. They are hyper compression mechanisms.
Mechanisms. Mm-hmm.
And as we have been arguing or like discussing a lot, even in your other podcasts, the quality of the data translates to how compression will become part of this neural network technology or the transformer technology itself.
Mm.
So it's 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 like so there's such cases that like I think it's Gerard who pointed out that you might be any organization wants to enter in the AI field should consider auditing his data itself first before like considering entering, because if you have a sloppy data or like a bad data, it will naturally affect the way the AI thinks of what you are considering as a business proposition or on the use case of the AI itself.
Yeah.
So general thoughts as of the moment, yeah, compressions is affected by the quality of the data itself.
Yeah. Hindi, sige. Kasi I think I'm getting a little lost myself no in how to tackle this. One approach, for example, a risk-based approach, is to just look at the outcomes no of a model. Never mind the brain. Just look at what happens. So if I do this, this happens. I think of course it's never that simple. Because once you find a series of, I would say, adverse outcomes or adverse outputs, then now it's incumbent on you to start to determine what were the possible inputs that would have led to the adverse outputs. and given how complex these parang systems, these networks are, I don't know if it's even possible, no? But I find it equally daunting to open the hood and start tinkering with the attention, matrix, and the kind of the embeddings. I don't know. Maybe it's something left for higher math problems, siguro, which is beyond me, no. But I don't know how to function, or I don't know how to. I don't know if it's a tractable. There's a tractable solution to it other than to just not use it. So it's too complex. And here's the problem. If it were also that simple, then we wouldn't have gone to other lengths, no. Pero parang the control of development of these models is left to very very few people, and maybe they probably don't care, no, what the rest of us think. And then on the flip side naman, I'm looking at this development triggering now the renewed interest in AI, thankfully. But
Mhm.
now we might run into a complete opposite problem in a few months, maybe a few years, where everyone is just freely adopting all of these systems without checking them, without auditing them. And then even if we said, okay, wait, stop muna, let's audit it, we have no way of
No
actually
standards.
succeeding such an audit. Then we're now stuck, no, in a catch 22, because now there's tremendous, it's the opposite problem na ngayon. Kasi ngayon we have an adoption problem, which is no one wants to do it. Then later we'll have a completely opposite problem where everyone wants to adopt it. And then the people who want to control it or audit it or keep us safe don't have the means to actually like police it. No, sorry, you can't use it. Why? I don't know why, but you just can't use it. And God forbid we get to a point where people are actually looking at the economic impact. Then wala na. There's no way to stop it. No? People will say, but we need this because our economy needs
Yeah,
X
that's another
X
thing.
yeah, X millions of jobs, or we want to prevent job losses, or we want to increase profitability based on systems that are inherently flawed. I think Prof. Ben was bringing that up also. Na suddenly it will optimize in a completely different way that doesn't agree with us. So I actually don't know how to attack it. No? I'm curious how you're managing. No? What what is your perspective, no, in tackling the iceberg of the whole thing.
Yeah, personally, if I don't have like promising research, I would be on the same like side of the coin you are. It's like this is probably the most impossible problem that we were handed
Mm-hmm.
as humans now, and some people are arguing this is probably the most important problem to solve
Mm-hmm.
because technically this technology is primed to help a lot of people and also consequently could also cause damage that it's like uncomputable as of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I would err that having mentioned that I have a promising research, I would err that there is such a case to like reduce the impossibility problem to a trapped box.
Mm-hmm.
By what I mean by that is I've shared in our offline discussion a perspective of the top researcher of probably in the world in AI, which is Sutskever, and his speculation since 2015 is very interesting, and it still bothered him up to this point that he presented last, I think, a week or 2 weeks ago, just to the Simon Institute. And what's funny is I'm utilizing the same process since February 2023.
Mm-hmm.
But I came from a different angle. My angle was to reduce bias. And I
Okay.
think the only way to reduce bias is let the system talk to the data by itself. And there's no humans interfering.
With each other. Okay.
Yeah. So we lose the human bias problem all on its own. We just reduce the bias on creating a certain data that the system will look upon.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's still bias. But he thinks that there's a way to trap the box in two sets of data, and this date both data has a matching principle in it.
Mhm.
So the way I'm like attacking it is similar to the way he's attacking it. But then again, to your question, I might veer off to a different road.
Yeah.
But
Occupational hazard.
yeah, I want to point out that I certainly believe that this is like an architecture problem.
Mhm.
It can be solved. It's 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 more probably harder to solve because of the human alignment problem that we have currently. The politics that revolves in like who, as you mentioned, the dominance of Silicon Valley or UK in this technology, whatever the political or like conceptual framework they're applying will definitely be factor. If somebody like us from the eastern side of the world will try to enter and present, hey, this is a solution,
Mm.
and they're gonna be automatically be, I would argue, a primitive approach.
Yeah.
Who are you? Are you part of the tribe? Are you
Mm.
part of this side of the world? I think that would be a more of a problem, which I'm currently navigating personally. I'm not saying they're fully on the tribe mode, but there is such an existing layer wherein it's very difficult to like communicate information if you're not part of that
Yeah.
side of the world. And you pointed out clearly as well in your initial assessment of the landscape. That's why there's this impossibility as well to solve
Actually,
or
it puts whatever I'm doing, for example, to question, because here I am advocating for more AI adoption, for more analysis. And again, we need to differentiate then, no? There are certain AI that are less problematic compared to others. Certainly generative AI kicks it up a notch because of its pervasive nature and the way it, let's say, a chatbot can hallucinate, where we've already exposed one possible problem already. But we're not even talking about just generative AI, with these risks. We're talking about more advanced AI. We're talking about AGI, which are still potentially far in the future, but it's coming. The fact that AI like GPTs are capable of doing this and they're already showing their flaws.
we have the
What's the
technology.
what's the next level gonna look like, where it's gonna be more powerful, but then the flaws are gonna get bigger? That's for me. I feel strange advocating for more AI if that's the case. But then the flip side is, if we get left behind, the innovation curve, we also tend to suffer. So I don't, it's really parang ano nga, catch 22 situation. Can I
Actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, just a simple thought. I mean, I I honestly think that what we are doing, talking, and also are doing for adoption is the right way because and choosing the lesser ego. If we anybody who would choose not to adopt this will suffer more.
Mm,
I'm not arguing. I'm not saying that it's like a pure positive thing, that there will be no negative consequences.
mm,
I'm arguing that it's a net positive for adopting AI.
yeah,
If you choose the other side, it's gonna be pure negative. I think there's
yeah,
no because what will happen is India, the population of India, the most dominant countries, and the West will just prosper, and
yeah.
those countries who doesn't choose to like build will definitely lose. So yeah, that's my take. We're doing the right thing. That's what I'm thinking now.
Yeah, so one of the missions I wanted to achieve, sana, with this conversation, was to come up with some sort of a taxonomy. I think we need to work more on it. But maybe I can share the link that you shared with me, yung the website of Rob Miles, Stampy.
Sure.
as just a reference for everyone. I mean, if there's gonna we talked about so many abstract things. I'm sure many
I'm
people
so
are
sorry for your audience.
having a lot of headaches, but maybe they take away at least one thing, no? Na okay, what does it mean to do this, this, this? And I actually found the website helpful, but I have to admit it's still kind of way up there, no? So this is Stampy.AI. It's actually a Q&A website dedicated to AI safety. And one of the
Mhm.
questions that popped up was what's the difference between AI safety, alignment, control, friendly AI ethics, existential safety, and AGI? And in a way, I think I like it. Doesn't make it super simple, but at least you can
They
almost
got it. Yeah.
grasp it already. You know?
Mhm,
So it
mhm.
says here AI safety is risk avoidance. So we listed all those possible risks. How do we mitigate or to
Factor.
address those risks,
Yeah.
no? So I
Mhm.
think that's straightforward, kasi that's
Mhm.
outcome based risk management. That's one of my core disciplines myself, no. I like thinking about risk management. It's either risk transfer or somehow you can hedge or insure against a risk,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
can terminate the risk by avoiding it completely,
Avoiding it. Yeah.
or you tolerate it if it's not big enough. I don't know if any of these risks can be tolerated, though, is the question.
That's true.
AGI safety refers to safety concerns from AGI. I think a really that's actually the ultimate problem, no? When AI becomes human level and more,
And more. Yeah.
then we bring up those issues on the orthogonality thesis, the instrumental
Co-
convergence, all of that.
Corrigibility. Yeah.
Corrigibility. Okay, good. AI existential safety is about any AI risks that pose an existential threat. So it's a subset of safety. Pero these are the risks that would basically kill everyone. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. Alignment, I think this is a big one. It's a bit more abstract. It's about make sure that AI continues to reflect human values. So in other words, irrespective of its intelligence, it should at least support what humans support. I think the big question that you brought up earlier is humans themselves are not aligned with each other. So where
Yes.
will the AI align with?
Yeah. Which one?
Okay, AI control refers to ensuring that AI systems try to do the right thing. So in a way, it's a subset of alignment, no? If you say
It
control,
is. Actually, it's the first time I'm looking at AI control too. Yeah.
yeah. AI
Yeah.
governance, identifying and enforcing norms for developers and systems. So this is more around setting up standards, no? Actually, I'm a big proponent of this with the AAP is to come up with a set of governance frameworks that will look at AI. I think where admittedly I'm struggling with this is if you have a governance framework, that implies you have a governance authority, no, who can
Mhm.
enforce the framework. And right now, without blinking, I can tell you I can't see an authority in the Philippines competent enough, not even AAP, to govern these systems
That's true.
adequately.
I would
Um,
share the same. Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard fundamentally. There's tons of layers, abstraction, like philosophical discussions, governmental requirements,
Eh,
and then the
some of
technology
it
itself.
some of it is a question of capability also. Eh. Like you have to
Technology.
be able to control what you want to govern. It's in analogous to remember we have this ongoing dispute with China on the South China slash West Philippine Sea.
Mhm.
Eh, and one of the remedies, without I didn't mean it's to be political, but just to illustrate the point, one of the remedies we pursued was to go to the international courts, no, and argue on the basis of the UNCLOS, no, the basically the law governing the sea, no, maritime law. Okay, fine, we won the arbitral ruling, but who will enforce the arbitral ruling? I mean, we can't enforce it if China ignores it. They actually reject it. They don't even consider the UNCLOS as a governing authority. So that's a fail for me. because you may have won a paper argument, but in terms of enforcement, you have nothing. It's the same for this. You might argue paper on paper that okay, AI should follow this. Developer should do this. But how do you enforce it? There is
It's
no
mhm,
parang ano in cars. There's no equivalent of LTO where you register a car and they're the ones who can revoke your registration. And then if your registration got revoked or if you didn't renew it, the police are empowered to take you down, no, and bring you to justice, no, or to impound your vehicle. Do we have that power with AI? I don't think we have that power.
I
you
don't
know.
think so too. I mean, I think we're gonna be, especially we don't develop unless we in the Philippines try as like a crazy feat, like develop our own stuff and
Mm,
build our own models.
mm,
That is where I think this idea of like governing who or what goes into that AI will be applicable, as you've mentioned. But
yeah,
until then, it's gonna be hard for us to like. The only thing that probably we could govern the users
yeah,
in some sense, but track them also. Hugging Face is there,
yeah.
so it's a hard problem for open source. So yeah, it's very difficult.
Okay. So we have two more terms here. Friendly AI. Eliezer Yudkowsky coined this. It's a subset of all possible AGI that helps humans flourish. I think Prof. Ben would love that, no? Human flourishing while
Mhm.
following some idealized version of human values. No? So aligned AI has been used to refer to the same concept more than friendly AI. Okay, so this is still part of the alignment discussion.
The-
Finally, AI ethics. AI ethics refers to principles that AI developers and systems should follow. The should here creates a space for debate whereby many people and institutions can try to impose their own values. I think to an extent, the recent declarations of entities like the UP and UNESCO, for example, are attempts to impose some sort of ethics framework. And I mean, I don't disagree with any of them. They're actually pretty useful. I think they overlap a lot. I'm worried though that we're spending far too much time just repeating principles that have already been mentioned before.
the- yeah, yeah.
And for example, the UP declaration is actually smaller than the UNESCO, but it attempts to try to encapsulate everything. In my mind, why bother? Why didn't you just adopt UNESCO already? Because UNESCO, Philippines is actually part of those who drafted that manifesto with UNESCO, and then instead come up with more governance and rules, and rather than just principles, give guidelines already. When should we use ChatGPT in the classroom? When
Yeah,
should it
that's
be considered cheating? When should it be considered allowed? Parang no one wants to volunteer that level. Everyone's sticking to high level. Si ano nga, Prof. Peter C. said, principalism. We're too stuck with
mm,
principles, not knowing na actually what we need are more prescription, no? More rules. But
practical.
especially in the Philippines, we're very rule based. We like violating though the rules, but we tend to think of rules, no, while in some other countries they're very guideline heuristic based. They're okay with ambiguity as long as it benefits the majority. Tayo, we like to stick for rules, but then we find ways to go around the rules, no? It's weird, no. Okay, sige. And just like that, the hour is done. I just wanted to maybe give the floor back to you because I think I've been talking about as much as you. No, parang
No, that's
what are
good.
your parting thoughts for now? No, in this topic of AI safety, developing a taxonomy, and something to look forward to in terms of research.
Oh, I mean, building the taxonomy itself is it's gonna be beneficial. And the only thing is I mentioned the things to consider while building it is worth thinking about. So just to ensure that it's like the way I do research is similar to that approach. Consider all of the possibilities and then execute. And to my understanding, it is very important to like create something for, especially for us. It's like we have enough people. We're developing the what you call this, the enough traction for adoption, and there's a lot of people who will benefit from defining stuff and then introducing this stuff. So it- it's gonna be yeah. I will, as things go, I would be more than willing to help you guys with this taxonomy project. On
Yeah,
my
yeah,
research, yeah, research thing, yeah, I'm very hopeful. I haven't yet met a bottleneck with my own project, so I'm looking for it because it's very hard also to cognitively to maintain this certain uh, like ambiguity of like having a really good theory and not execute it properly on a larger scale. So I'm looking for the this. I'm looking to disprove my theory constantly, but I keep on like revealing that yeah, these are important stuff. Yeah, and then I've mentioned there in this discussion of ours, Sutscover is also looking at the same argument or the compression argument. Hopefully, it's a good topic. If it evolves to be something important, it's worth discussing in your podcast, I believe, and be acknowledged by the larger safety community research.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, general thoughts. Yeah, I'm happy again. Unfortunately, we are out of time to discuss
yeah.
stuff.
We never get too deep, no, but I think that's what continued conversation implies. And maybe I want to consider, I want to put a shout out to people who want to participate in this discussion. Please reach out to me, reach out to Miguel. We need more hands on deck. We recently formed a private group on this. It was meant to be private because I wanted to distill it to people who will really contribute. No? So far, I think we're having early days, no, in that community.
Oh, yeah,
People are
it is
quiet,
what it is. Yeah,
but we need to bring it up, no. Yeah, and more people are starting to speak up, no, on both sides. Like recently,
yeah.
I did a chat with Cedric Miraflor who talked about vulnerabilities of AI. That's very
Mm,
important.
that's good. That's good.
It's also related to safety.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's for me. I just feel like right now it's an intractable problem, and we need to be able to break it down into like smaller pieces, and to point out that this actually predates ChatGPT. These issues have been in
Oh, of course, of course.
discussion for a long time. No? Parang lumabas lang siya because of ChatGPT as a trigger. But these are classical problems in computer science actually that we need to
Yes,
address. No? Okay.
it is like inherent as a part of this journey. I think is how I'm navigating it. So yeah, thank you, Doc. It's
Thanks
a
a lot,
privilege.
Miguel. Always a
Guys.
pleasure. So we'll catch each other on the next chat, no? And actually,
Yeah,
I'll probably link you up with other people as well. So I had good discussions with Jeric, for example.
yeah,
Someone
that would be interesting.
I'd love to pair up with you would be Jim. There we have several Miraflores in the community already. Jim Miraflor is he talked a lot about the philosophy of AI, computer science, history. So I think that would be perfect as a in a way a
A
counterfactual,
mesh.
no, to this,
Hmm.
no. Parang because for the longest time AI struggled to be recognized as a proper practice because it wasn't succeeding in anything. And then suddenly neural networks started working. And then now machine learning is deep learning especially is reigning supreme. But then the governance arguments, the safety arguments have yet to catch up because
Catch
no,
up. Yeah,
because people have been used to the fact that AI didn't work for a while, and then suddenly now it works very well, and we're not ready for that.
we're trying. That's the
Oh,
thing. Yeah.
okay, I'll catch you in the next chat. Thanks a lot, Miguel.
Sure, sure. Thank you.